Ever wonder if your love life is, like, written in the stars? Or maybe um, baked into a cake?
Interesting thought.
Today, we're taking a deep dive into your love life with, you guessed it, tarot.
And we'll be exploring new beginnings, how to build something that lasts, all that good stuff.
The really juicy stuff, right?
Yeah.
But, oh, and there's a twist.
There's always a twist.
We're using a tarot reading centered around a glazed apple bundt cake.
Intrigued. I know I was. It's actually fascinating how this reading uses the metaphor of a bundt cake to explore relationship dynamics.
Okay, I have to admit, I'm hooked already.
Yeah.
But how does a bundt cake even relate to love?
Well, think about it. Just like a bundt cake needs the right ingredients, to be delicious, relationships, they need that effort, that intention, and balance. That's key.
Okay, yeah, I see where you're going with this. So where does this delicious deep dive begin?
This reading, it starts with whispers of new beginnings. It suggests that for some of you out there, a new love, or maybe just a new spark in an existing relationship, it might be subtly unfolding in your life right now.
Subtlety, huh? So no fireworks or grand gestures then?
Not necessarily. This new beginning, it's more like a slow simmer. It's about intuition, those behind-the-scenes actions that build something really strong.
I like that. Love simmering away in the background, making everything a bit sweeter.
Yeah.
Are there any cards in this reading that sort of highlight this energy?
Absolutely. We've got the High Priestess and the Emperor.
Okay, gotta admit, I'm not fluent in tarot. What do those cards even mean?
So tarot cards, with all their symbolism, they're like mirrors, to our subconscious. The High Priestess, she's all about intuition, mystery, trusting your gut.
So she's the one whispering to us about that special someone, even if we can't explain it yet.
Exactly. And then we have the Emperor. Structure, stability, even a touch of magic.
A magical emperor. Now that's something you don't hear every day.
Right, true, right? When it comes to relationships, the Emperor often represents a partner who makes you feel safe, someone reliable, but they know how to bring the romance too.
So it's like finding a partner who embodies those emperor qualities.
Yeah.
Someone who shows up consistently, but also knows how to make your heart flutter.
You got it. Imagine you're having a tough day and your partner surprises you with your favorite takeout just because. That's the Emperor's magic.
Those little gestures, they really can be so powerful. Like they're saying, I see you, I know you.
Precisely. And this combination of the High Priestess and the Emperor, it suggests that this new beginning or this new chapter in an existing love story, it could be both exciting and really grounding.
Okay, I am so here for that kind of energy.
Yeah.
But new beginnings are only one part of the story, right? What about like when we move past those initial butterflies? So we've got this delicious new beginning simmering away. What's the next layer in our love life bundt cake?
Right, so we've moved past those initial sparks and butterflies.
We're cooking now.
Exactly. It's about how we actually cultivate that sweetness, that joy in our relationships, whether they're brand new or years old.
Okay, so it's not just about showing up, right? It's about putting in the work day after day to build something special, something
No, exactly right. It's like,
delicious.
oh yeah, like
We don't have-
making a bundt cake takes effort, collaboration, shared vision, right? To
Yeah.
create something truly delicious.
Okay, I'm with you. So what is it in this reading that emphasizes that?
The Three of Pentacles.
Oh,
It appears actually multiple times in this reading.
oh wow, twice. That's
Ah.
got to be significant.
It's a big one. Teamwork, shared purpose, that feeling of building something together. Imagine, like, you and your partner are architects, right? But instead of blueprints, you're working with the very fabric of your connection.
Ooh, I love that.
Yeah.
Both of you actively involved contributing, creating something beautiful.
Yes. Recognizing that a fulfilling relationship, it takes that active participation, from both partners, showing up, supporting each other's dreams, and just making a conscious effort to keep that spark alive.
It's those everyday gestures, right? The little things that say, I see you and I appreciate you.
Yes. It's about being intentional with your love, making sure your actions, they align with your words. And just recognizing those moments when maybe one person is carrying a bit more of the weight.
Oh, I think we've all been there. That feeling of, hold on, am I the only one putting in effort here?
And that's where this idea of positive karma comes into play.
Okay, break that down for me. What does that even mean, positive karma, like in a relationship?
Well, it's not about keeping score, right? Or expecting something in return for every nice thing you do. Positive karma in love, it's about, I think, cultivating that environment of mutual appreciation,
Hmm.
ensuring both partners feel valued.
So it's about making sure things feel balanced, not just in the big picture, but also in those small, everyday moments.
Exactly. Just like our bundt cake needs that balance of ingredients, right, to get that perfect texture and flavor. Relationships, they thrive when both partners feel seen, appreciated, like they're contributing equally to the sweetness of the connection.
Okay, I am all about that balance of sweetness. But what about adding a little spice to the mix? Because, let's be honest, every now and then, relationships need a little something extra to keep things exciting. Spice. Now we're talking. I feel like I know where this is going. Does this have anything to do with that Knight of Wands card, the one we talked about earlier?
You got it. The Knight of Wands. He comes in to remind us that love needs a bit of adventure sometimes, a little spontaneity, that heart racing passion.
So like breaking out of those routines,
Yeah.
right? Trying new things together, maybe even booking that impulsive weekend trip.
Exactly. Think about what got you both excited in the first place. It's those shared experiences, those moments that push you out of your comfort zones, those really reignite the spark.
Because nothing says I love you like trying some strange new food on vacation and laughing about it for years to come.
You're getting it. Creating new memories, keeping that sense of adventure alive in the relationship, it's important.
But, and I think there's always a but, isn't there too much spontaneity? I don't know, that can leave you feeling a little off kilter, right?
Such a good point, and it brings us back to, that balance. The reading also highlights the justice card this time, reminding us that as great as adventures are, sustainable love, it requires that foundation too.
Yeah.
Stability, fairness.
Finding that sweet spot, right, between the spontaneity and consistency. Like our Bundt cake, relationships need both. That excitement, yeah, but also that dependable, delicious base.
Such a good analogy. It's about finding that sweet spot where you both feel secure, but also you're experiencing that excitement, that growth together.
So those small gestures we talked about before, those everyday things, the listening ear, the helping hand, they're just as important as those grand gestures, those big adventures.
Absolutely. The adventures, think of those like sprinkles on a cake. They add that fun, the flair. But
Yeah.
those everyday acts of love, that's the applesauce. It's what keeps the cake moist and flavorful. You need both.
Okay, so we covered it all. The new beginnings, building something that lasts, adding that spice, and of course, finding that balance. We really baked up a whole philosophy of love today. What's the final takeaway here? What's the glaze on top of this deep dive?
I think it's that love, just like this glazed apple bundt cake. It's about intention, but also enjoyment. Yeah, it takes effort, attention, but it's also meant to be savored every step of the way.
And just like that perfect glaze, it's often the small things, right? Those little touches, the shared laughter, the quiet evenings, those make all the difference.
Exactly. Love isn't a destination. It's that journey, that creation, the connection, and yeah, even a little bit of magic.
So there you have it, listeners. A deep dive into the delicious world of love and relationships, seasoned with a little tarot wisdom, and who knew, a glazed apple bundt cake. What will you bring to the table in your own love story?
All right, we're diving into some juicy stuff today. Ready? Love, relationships, the whole shebang. And get this, we're using pecan pie cheesecake as our guide.
You heard right. This reading we're unpacking uses pecan pie cheesecake as a metaphor for love.
Yeah.
All those layers, the richness. It's more profound than you might think.
Okay, you've got me hooked. So hit me with the first layer of this love cheesecake reading.
Well, it starts with a bang, actually. Not a gentle nudge. We're talking 2 tower cards right out the gate.
Phew. Whoa, okay. Isn't the tower card like a bad omen or something?
It can be, yeah, but it's more about upheaval. Like, think of those walls we build around our hearts, to protect ourselves. 2 towers is like a double whammy. It's saying those walls, they got to come down, no way around it.
Huh. I never thought of it like that. But it makes sense. We all have those defenses, especially when it comes to love.
Right. And, this reading even suggests there might be some self-sabotage going on. Like, you're holding yourself back from a real connection. Imagine that pecan pie cheesecake's right there, but you're telling yourself you're not hungry.
Man, that's an image. Okay, so how do we stop doing that? Asking for a friend, obviously.
Well, luckily, the next card offers some hope. It's called Everything I Started to Make Sense When I Met You. So it's saying that person who helps you make sense of it all, they're out there.
So it has about finding the one then. They'll just magically make everything okay.
Not quite. It's bigger than that. It's more about being open to someone, letting them in. Think of it like being brave enough to actually take a bite of that cheesecake. You might get hurt, sure, but you might also find it's the most delicious thing you've ever tasted.
I see, it's about the risk as much as the reward. Makes you think, what are we missing out on by playing it safe?
Exactly. That's the message here. You have to be open to that possibility, to that connection.
Okay, so we're letting down walls, taking a bite of that cheesecake. But what about, wanting it in the first place? Desire. That's got to be part of this love recipe, right?
Absolutely. And that's where this reading gets really playful. We're not just talking about love, but the kind that makes you feel truly alive, joyful, vibrant, even a little mischievous.
Like love so good you don't even mind the dishes piling up after you tried to recreate that pecan pie cheesecake.
Exactly. It's about embracing that lighthearted energy.
Right.
And speaking of embracing, this reading highlights the sun card here.
The sun, okay. Soaking up those good vibes, finding your tribe, that kind of thing.
Exactly. It's about authenticity, expressing yourself fully. But then there's a little plot twist. The judgment card pops up.
Judgment. Uh-oh, did I forget to preheat the oven or something?
Not quite. But it is about taking stock. It's like the reading saying, okay, you want that joyful, fulfilling love. Amazing. Now, let's unpack any baggage that might be holding you back.
Baggage, huh? Those emotional suitcases we drag around from one relationship to the next.
You got it. And this is where forgiveness comes in. And not just forgiving others, but forgiving yourself, too. It's asking, are you holding on to past hurts, regrets, maybe even some self-criticism? Those things can really block you from experiencing true joy in love and in life.
It's true. Sometimes we're our own worst enemies, Like that saying, holding a grudge is like letting someone live rent-free in your head. Time to evict.
Yes, it's about letting go of what no longer serve you, creating space for something new. Speaking of new beginnings, this reading also mentions pack our bags and go.
Wait, for real, should I be booking a trip right now? Where are we going?
Think of it more like a fresh start, a symbolic journey. It's connected to that judgment card. You're packing your bags, yes, but you're leaving those old patterns, those self-limiting beliefs behind. You're starting fresh.
All right, so we've talked about taking a chance on love, facing our fears, forgiving ourselves. But how do we make sure it lasts? I mean, pecan pie cheesecake is great and all, but you don't want to just scarf it down, right? You want to savor it.
Exactly. And this is where the reading takes a really empowering turn. It's not just about opening yourself up to love, but about owning your power within that love. And the card leading the charge here is the Queen of Wands.
Queen of Wands, okay. She sounds pretty self-sufficient. Is she even interested in sharing that pecan pie cheesecake?
She's definitely about independence, about knowing her worth, but that doesn't mean she's against relationships. In fact, the Queen of Wands desires deep, passionate connection. The thing is, this reading also points out a tendency to bail when things get real. Maybe even ghosting someone you're starting to care about.
Oof, ghosting. Yeah, we've all been there on one side or the other. Why do we do that, even when we want a real connection?
Fear, plain and simple. It's that same fear of vulnerability those towers were warning us about.
Yeah.
And, the reading specifically mentions ghosting in those everyday settings, classrooms, workplaces, like those sparks catch you off guard and you just bolt.
Tell me about it. It's like they caught me admiring their passion for pottery during that team building exercise. I'm never coming back to the office.
Exactly. But the Queen of Wands, she doesn't run. She's a reminder that we're allowed to have it all: excitement, stability, a love that's both fiery and grounded. Just like that pecan pie cheesecake, you savor each bite, but you also appreciate the whole creation. It's not just about the initial sugar rush.
Right, so no more disappearing acts. But relationships have their challenges, for sure. How do we know when to push through the rough patches and when to, toss the whole recipe out?
Well, this next card offers some guidance. It's called, Thank God I Didn't Drop That Class. It speaks to the power of sticking with it, recognizing that the good stuff often comes when you don't give up at the first sign of trouble.
Okay, so perseverance is key, but how do we know it's the right relationship to put in that effort?
That's where you have to check in with yourself. The Queen of Wands would ask, are you compromising your values? Are your needs being met? If not, it might be time to reevaluate. But if there's love, respect, a willingness to grow together, then yeah, facing those challenges can actually make the bond even stronger.
Just like learning to bake that perfect pecan pie cheesecake. It takes time, patience, maybe a few burnt crusts along the way.
Exactly. But when you get it right, it's pure magic, isn't it? And speaking of magic, the final card in this reading feels like a beautiful culmination of everything we've been talking about, the Empress.
Ooh, the Empress. All right, lay that wisdom on me. What does she represent in this love story?
The Empress is all about abundance, nurturing, creation. She's a reminder that you're not just passively receiving love, you're an active participant in creating it. But it starts with self-love, with knowing your worth.
So she's like the master baker of our pecan pie cheesecake metaphor, right? She knows her ingredients, trusts her intuition, and creates something truly extraordinary.
Beautifully put.
Yeah.
And that's the message the Empress leaves us with. You have that same power within you. The power to create a love that's not just good, but truly exceptional. Don't be afraid to step into that power, to trust your heart, and create a love that's worthy of you.
Welcome back, everyone. Ready for another deep dive? This one's going to be interesting.
Interesting and delicious, I'd say.
Haha, yeah, you could say that. We're about to analyze a romantic relationship using, get this, a pumpkin crumb cake muffin recipe.
Not literally, of course. It's more like each part of this recipe, each ingredient, mirrors something deeper about building a fulfilling relationship.
Okay, so bear with us because this is based on a 3-card tarot reading, by the way.
Right. And those cards are all about cultivating warmth and connection, uncovering those hidden layers that make a relationship special, and of course, finding that stability we all crave.
Exactly. So think of it as we're about to decipher the secret ingredients for a love that's as warm and satisfying as, well, a pumpkin crumb cake muffin fresh out of the oven.
I love that analogy.
All right. Let's preheat those ovens and dive into the first set of cards. We've got Knight of Wands, Solitude, and King of Wands. What do you make of that combo?
Ooh, right off the bat, we're hit with this burst of energy. You see this Knight and King of Wands together like that, almost like diving headfirst into a whirlwind romance, that kind of energy.
Yeah, it's giving very much head over heels, can't keep our hands off each other kind of vibes, right?
Exactly. Passionate, fast-moving, a little bit impulsive maybe. All those fiery qualities.
Makes sense. But then, right in the middle of all that intensity, we've got Solitude. Kind of throws a wrench in the works, doesn't it?
It does. And that's where things get interesting, you see. This passionate connection. But then a need for solitude. It's like almost contradictory, isn't it?
It does make you wonder, how do those two things coexist?
Right. But it's not about being apart, really.
Yeah.
It's more like even within that whirlwind, there needs to be space, right? Space for individual growth.
So it's not solitude in the sense of being alone, but more like making sure you're both still growing as individuals, even within the relationship.
Yeah, exactly. Because you could have all the passion in the world, but if you don't have that solid sense of self.
It's going to fall apart, isn't it? Like you can't build something lasting without that foundation.
Exactly. Think of it this way. You can't have that amazing crumb topping without a flavorful muffin underneath, right?
Mm-hmm.
What's the point of all that sweetness if there's nothing to support it?
That's actually a really good way to put it. You need that base, that substance. Otherwise, it's just, well, sugar overload.
Right. And relationships are the same way. You need that balance.
Have you ever felt that, though? That need for solitude, even when you're in a good place with someone?
Oh, absolutely. I think it's important. Even the most loving situations, those moments of introspection, they're vital. They keep things fresh.
It's like taking a second to appreciate each individual flavor before diving back into the whole delicious mix, right?
Exactly.
Okay, so we've got this balance of fiery passion and individual growth. What else is in store for us with this love recipe of ours?
All right, so moving on to the next layer of this love recipe, we're about to get a little mystical here.
Ooh, I like where this is going. Hit me.
Okay, so the next set of cards, we've got the Nine of Pentacles, right? Then we've got 555 and the Magician. Quite the combo, right?
Okay, see now, Nine of Pentacles, that one resonates. It's giving very much, I'm confident, I'm independent, I know what I bring to the table kind of vibes.
Exactly. It's that energy of abundance, like you've already done the work on yourself.
You've cultivated that self-love. You know your worth. And that, I feel like, is what attracts people in the first place, right? Like before the relationship even begins.
100%. That self-assured energy, it's magnetic. It makes sense that love would be drawn into your life, when you're vibing that high.
So we're basically saying you're attracting love through your own, like, inner radiance.
Exactly. You're not waiting for love to find you. You're putting out that energy, and it's bound to attract something amazing.
I love that. Okay, but then we sprinkle in this 555 and the Magician, and now I'm picturing, like, love potions and spells and...
I see what you mean. It does add that element of, like, mystical manifestation, doesn't it?
Mm-hmm. It does. So help me break this down. What's the significance here?
So, the Magician, right?
Yeah.
That card's all about understanding your own power. Like, You have the ability to shape your reality, manifest your desires.
And 555 is like amplifying that energy.
Totally. It's like transformation, new beginnings. Remember that cinnamon sugar topping we talked about? It's like a little sprinkle of magic went into creating that initial allure.
Okay, so it's not just about stumbling upon love, it's about actively calling it in.
Yes. You're putting it out there. You're setting intentions.
Okay, I'm here for it. But there's always a but, isn't there?
Well, there's always a deeper layer, right? And I think 555 is nudging us to acknowledge that. So maybe that initial spark, it was amplified, you manifested it.
But now what?
Now it's time for authenticity to really shine, you see. The magician's reminding us, true love. It flourishes when you're showing up as your genuine self, not just the version you think your partner wants.
So it's like anyone can bake a muffin that looks good from the outside, right? But what really matters is the taste, that deep down deliciousness.
Exactly. You can't fake that. And relationships is the same way.
Yeah.
You got to let your partner see the real you.
The good, the so-called bad, the quirks, the whole package.
The whole package. Because those imperfections, that's what makes you, you.
Okay, so how do we actually put this into practice? How do we go from like surface level attraction to revealing those deeper layers?
It's all about letting your actions speak,
Hmm.
you know? Like, instead of grand gestures, think smaller but more meaningful. Like, what's something your partner really cares about?
Oh, I see. So it's about those small acts of love that show you're really paying attention.
Exactly. It's those little things done consistently that create a foundation of true connection. It says, I see you, I appreciate you for who you really are, you know?
And it's not about expecting anything in return either, right? It's that genuine desire to nurture the connection, just because.
Exactly. No ulterior motives, just pure, genuine care. And that, my friend, is a recipe for something truly special.
Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground here. Passion, individuality, authenticity. What's next in our quest for a fulfilling love life? So much good stuff already. We've added spice, individuality, a touch of magic. What's the final sprinkle on this love recipe of ours?
This is where things get really interesting. Because the final set of cards, it's all about finding that comfort, that stability, you know? The kind of love that lasts.
Okay, I'm intrigued. Lay it on me.
All right, so we've got the hermit, right? Then romance, which seems pretty straightforward.
Yeah.
And lastly, the Seven of Pentacles. Now, when I first saw this combo, I have to admit, the hermit threw me for a loop.
I can see why. It's like we're talking about building a relationship, connecting with someone,
Yeah.
and then suddenly we're retreating into a cave.
Right. But there's a method to the madness, you see. The hermit, it's not about isolating yourself. It's about taking that time for introspection, you know, tending to your own inner garden, so to speak.
So even though, yeah, we're talking about two people coming together, there's still that individual journey happening at the same time.
Exactly. Because here's the thing. You can't pour from an empty cup, right?
Yeah.
You have to nurture yourself individually in order to show up fully in that relationship.
That actually makes a lot of sense. So it's like you're both taking care of your own personal growth, and that in turn strengthens the connection overall.
Precisely.
Right.
It's about recognizing that sustainable love, just like anything worth having, it takes time. It's a process.
It's not instant gratification, that's for sure.
No. But that's where the beauty lies, you see. It's in those quiet moments of self-reflection, of nurturing yourself and the relationship. That's where the real magic happens.
It's like letting those flavors meld and deepen over time.
Perfectly said. And that brings us to the Seven of Pentacles. This card, it's all about patience, you know? It's about trusting the process, knowing that good things take time.
It's about playing the long game, not expecting everything to happen overnight.
Yes. And more importantly, it's about weathering those storms together, you know? Because let's be real, every relationship has its challenges.
No, absolutely. It's not always sunshine and roses.
Exactly. But it's in those moments when things get tough that you really see what you're made of, both individually and as a couple.
It's about supporting each other through those challenges, learning and growing together.
Exactly. And you know what? Through it all, we have romance reminding us to never lose sight of the spark, you know? It's about finding those moments of joy and connection, even in the midst of the everyday chaos.
So it's not just about putting in the work, the effort. It's also about remembering to, like, enjoy the journey.
Absolutely. Celebrate the wins, big or small, because those moments of joy, those little acts of love and appreciation, that's what keeps the relationship alive and thriving.
So it's about finding that balance, right? The passion, the effort, but also the joy, the simple pleasures.
Exactly. It's about weaving all those threads together, creating a tapestry that's both strong and beautiful, intricate and resilient.
This has been such an eye-opening conversation. We've gone from a simple pumpkin crumb cake muffin recipe to, like, the core ingredients of a fulfilling relationship.
It's amazing what those cards can reveal, right?
It really is. And for our listeners, we'd love to leave you with this. As you reflect on your own love lives, what's one small, genuine act of care you can offer your partner today? Something that says, I see you, I appreciate you, and adds a touch of sweetness to your shared journey. Until next time, everyone.